Welcome back to Ballaholics, the show for those who simply can't get enough of basketball. I'm your host, Sam Israel, once again joined by my other co-host, Ian Mills. Ian Mills, how are we doing on this wonderful day?
Guys, not doing too bad on this Monday afternoon. Ready for the NBA season to start. Really excited about that right now. That's pretty much the only thing on my mind.
Yeah, man, it's been about time, bro. Now we're about 2 weeks out now until the season comes back, so we're all waiting for that. Glad you guys are joining us and watching our podcast once again. If you haven't done so already, which I don't know why you wouldn't at this point, make sure to give our Instagram a follow, Ballaholics_BTV6. Also want to say that I actually created a Twitter account, a Twitter Ballaholics account. Same thing, Ballaholics_BTV6. We're going to put some great tweets for you guys. Without further ado, let's get started for our show today. So for our first segment, Ian, we're talking about, once again, my suffering New York Knicks. Suffering New York Knicks fan I am. I'm a suffering New York Knicks fan. And they're looking for their ideal head coach. So right now, Tom Thibodeau looks like he's the front runner, and they conducted second interviews on all the coaching candidates that they want. So, Ian, let's start with you. If you are the general manager, if you are the president of basketball operations for the New York Knicks, who you got?
Well, I don't care how the Knicks do. I think regardless of who they hire, they're not going to be very good next season. But, that's just me.
Damn it, Ian.
But looking back at this past year, coaches, that have become available, whether through they decided to leave or they were fired. The biggest question mark I had about a coach being fired was Kenny Atkinson from Brooklyn. And it wasn't that he was fired for, being a bad coach. It wasn't that at all. He was amazing in that rebuild process. I mean, they made the playoffs a couple times without first-round picks. Him and was it Sean Marks, I want to say the general manager, worked together incredibly well. I mean, they were a fantastic duo, and it really just seemed like Kenny Atkinson was fired because he's one of those coaches who, controls the floor. He's not like a Ty Lue or a David Blatt. He's really actually has to he has control of his players. And I don't think Kyrie and Kevin Durant probably liked that, maybe even DeAndre Jordan. And I would imagine that was the reason he was fired. Probably just wasn't a good fit. So for the Knicks, we're a team where they don't have any superstars, nowhere even close to a superstar. I mean, your best player is probably R.J. Barrett. Julius Randle didn't have a great year last year, but you could say he might have been better than R.J. Barrett. Probably actually was better than R.J. Barrett. But for the foreseeable future, you imagine that they're just going to kind of add more players, kind of role players, because unless they all of a sudden somehow draft some superstar, which I don't really see them doing. Kenny Atkinson, it could be similar to the Nets position where a couple years ago it looked like they had lost all hope, but somehow every year they seem to be the 8th or 7th seed just because of good coaching and getting players that were decent role players.
Yeah. I just want to say right now, I just want to preface what I'm going to say by saying I just want to shout out my Knicks Instagram, NewYork.Knicks__. Just give that a follow. We got over 4,000 followers for that. And I go in depth in that Instagram, basically mapping out all the possible head coach candidates for the New York Knicks. Obviously, this is a really tough conversation for me, Ian. Anytime the Knicks are brought up in discussions with anything, I always get a little cautious. I'm always nervous, Ian, because it's always an accident waiting to happen with the New York Knicks, and we all know that. When I'm looking at the head coach candidates, I see level 1 candidates and there's level 2 candidates. I feel like when you want to win a championship, the level 1 candidate is the developmental coach, where you're able to develop the players and you're there for the young guys. You're almost in a state of rebuild. Then once your players develop more, then you can go out and look and try and fish out for those superstar free agents. And I feel like that is a level 2 coach possibly. The New York Knicks, I want to say, when you're looking for the head coach, I don't think they're ultimately going to do what they should do. I think when the culture is in the wrong place and the emphasis is on the wrong areas, you're not going to get the right coach. And if you look at James Dolan, for example, he fired Steve Mills and he hired Leon Rose, who is a player's agent. He has many clients. He's had LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, CP3, then the young guys, Devin Booker, Karl-Anthony Towns. So obviously the Knicks right now, they're trying to lure in superstars, and that's their recipe for success. However, they're severely lacking an ingredient, and that is the developmental, developing the young players. And they need to do a better job at that. Obviously, through the Knicks standards of excellence, they're going to hire Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau is a front runner. He's the most established name on the market. He's had over 20 years of coaching experience under his belt. He's coached teams like the Boston Celtics with Rondo, Kevin Garnett, and Paul Pierce. He's coached the Chicago Bulls with primetime Derrick Rose, MVP Derrick Rose. We all know how that turned out for the Chicago Bulls because you're playing him overtime. You're playing him like 36, 40 minutes a game. I don't even want to get into that. But I will give Tom Thibodeau credit where credit's due. His teams always on the defensive end are amazing. He always brings that defensive grit, that defensive identity for the Knicks. So I think that he is going to be amazing on the defensive end for the Knicks if they choose to hire him. If you're asking me, though, who they should hire, if I'm the GM, if I'm the president, my emphasis is not on the actual development. It's not on winning now and bringing in superstars. It's developing the young players. People like to say, okay, Sam, so they have so many, why are the Knicks always different? Like, why can't they just get it right? And the answer is the Knicks, they're entitled. The New York Knicks are entitled because with the New York Knicks always have to have a team where winning is priority. Not winning, sorry. Where you have to lure in superstars. It's the Mecca, MSG, New York City. If you treated New York City like a small market team and you didn't have to go after the big names every single time, and instead you place more emphasis on developing young players and bringing in and developing that talent, then you would have a chance. In my book, it's Mike Miller, the interim head coach. Mike Miller hasn't done anything that would prevent me from saying that he should be the head coach. He has not, wavered in, my confidence for the head coaching job. He's off the radar. He's not a big brand name. David Fizdale, when David Fizdale got fired, the Knicks were 4-18. After Mike Miller got hired, they went 17-28. So you see the improvement. He's a former coach of the year in the G League. Look at me, Ian. I'm going on and on. Enough with the big names. Bring in my boy, Mike Miller. Keep him on. Now, ultimately, they're not going to do that. They're going to bring in Kenny Atkinson, I bet. Or they're not going to bring in Kenny Atkinson, but that would be the coach that I would like besides Mike Miller because let's not overthink this. The New York Knicks, if you're Leon Rose, you didn't get hired to keep the interim coach, Mike Miller. You got hired to make a big-time hire. It's ultimately going to be Tom Thibodeau, but it should be Mike Miller.
So I got a question real quick for you. So were you saying Tom Thibodeau is a good developmental coach?
No.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure.
He's the established coach. He's level 2. Mike Miller's level 1. We need to stay at level 1. We're not level 2 yet.
Okay, I agree with you. No, I agree with you. I don't think Tom Thibodeau would be a good hire simply because I don't think young players want to play for him, as we saw with Andrew Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns, simply because he runs people into the ground, which, for a guy like Michael Jordan, that would make sense, I guess, a little bit, but Michael Jordan doesn't need a coach like that. You know what I mean? Like, you need a player to have that killer instinct. You can't force that killer instinct on a player as a coach, I think. Mike Miller, I think, as an interim head coach, he did an okay job. It's one of those things where it's like, well, you took over a bad team. How good really were you, or how bad really were you? So I think you're right. Mike Miller probably won't end up getting hired simply because you're right. Leon Rose probably wants to make a bigger splash than just hiring, maybe the less sexy pick. But no, I think you're right. I think probably it will be Thibodeau or Atkinson. Probably more Thibodeau. Looks like that way.
Yeah, just on all the reports and what we've all been hearing, they're going after big time names. There were trade rumors with Chris Paul prior. Donovan Mitchell got brought up in rumors. Devin Booker most recently got brought up in rumors. So they're trying to really fish out for those big time names. They should not be doing that. Don't go for the home run. Go for what works. Go for the single. Go for Mike Miller. Treat the New York Knicks like they're a small market team. There's nothing untitledly great about the New York Knicks. They're not like ignore the fact that they play in MSG. Ignore the fact that they're in New York City. They're not cool anymore. Treat them like just a low-key name. They're not New York City. It should be a small market. Treat them like a small market team, and you'll get better results.
I think last year when they signed Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant free agency, I mean, that really blew the water open for the Knicks. You know what I'm saying? When they definitely got those two superstars and definitely didn't lose out on both of them, and also Zion. And the Knicks you're thinking of.
Oh, man, the Knicks, man. And then I saw reports before about Jason Kidd being a candidate for the New York Knicks. Personally, if I look at Jason Kidd, he sounds like a great hire. He was previously with the New York Knicks during 2012-2013, their 54-win season. He's a brilliant mind in the NBA. He's praised all around the NBA by players like LeBron James, players like Giannis Antetokounmpo. But the problem with Jason Kidd, and the one reason why I'm going to say it cannot be Jason Kidd, is because of the reason why management would even hire Jason Kidd. Because if they hired Jason Kidd, there would be so much more pressure on the New York Knicks to lure in Giannis Antetokounmpo from the Bucks. That's not the reason why you bring in Jason Kidd. You don't bring in Jason Kidd to lure Giannis Antetokounmpo because it's the same thing will happen. Expectations get raised. They don't happen. You go back to reality, and then this is more drama.
Yeah, I agree.
100%. We'll see what happens there. I think it's ultimately going to be Tom Thibodeau. I hope it's Mike Miller. Kenny Atkinson I'd be fine with. Mike Woodson I'd be cool with. Jason Kidd I'd be cool with too, for the right reasons. Let's get on to our next segment now. Let's move on from the Knicks. Let's actually move on from the NBA. We are going back to NFL. And Ian, it's been a minute since we've even talked about the NFL in general. And we're a little late, but Cam Newton signs with the Patriots, Ian. And this is something that we were talking about on a previous episode, but it actually happened. Ian, your thoughts?
Well, as you know, from upstate New York, huge Bills guy. Big Buffalo. I'm from Rochester, but I'm a big Buffalo. Last year, the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots were jockeying in position for the first place AFC East team. I'm sorry. And the Patriots beat them with, not only because of Tom Brady, but Tom Brady was a big part of that. Their defense was really good, but so was the Bills' defense. So the Bills, they get second place. And then Tom Brady leaves. And it's like, oh, well, the Patriots got worse and the Bills got better because, Bills had Stephon Diggs. So it's like, okay, logically thinking, okay, Bills should be first place next year, right? That's logically compared to you think that the Patriots without Tom Brady are better than the Bills? If you do, you're on crack. But that's
Ian,
okay.
Listen, Ian, I don't know if it's I think maybe I triggered you because I was talking about my New York Knicks, my suffering team, and then maybe it sort of propelled you to talk about the Buffalo Bills and talk about your team. I don't know, but
my perspective. All right, so yeah, you're right. No, so you would think, right? With Jarrett Stidham, the Patriots wouldn't be that good, right? That's the idea because the guy's never really played. And when he has, I think his only playing time this year, he threw a pick 6 against the Jets. Whatever, it is what it is. So looks like they're not going to be too great this year. Then they add Cam Newton. I like the ad because it's cheap, and at one point he obviously was an MVP. He did go to the Super Bowl, 15-1 season, probably one of the best seasons a quarterbacks had in I guess his relatively recent history. I don't know how good Cam Newton is, and I don't think really anyone knows how good Cam Newton is. I think that's what scares me is he could be full health because he took the back half of the season off. Probably I think he only played a couple games, probably about 5 games last year. So what scares me really is the fact that, he, for the longest time, was struggling because of his shoulder injury. He couldn't throw the ball as accurate as he'd like because his shoulder just never fully recovered. And he tells the Panthers, give me shoulder surgery after it's his second shoulder surgery this past year. So, either he'll come back and the shoulder will shot and we'll know when his career will be over, or he'll be fine with the Patriots and the shoulder will come back.
Sorry, we lost Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay.
Just do it again.
Wi-Fi. Okay. So Cam Newton over the past 2 years has had shoulder surgeries twice. He has 2 shoulder surgeries on the same shoulder. Essentially, begging the question, he wasn't as accurate as he'd probably like to be. He was very hesitant in running the game, as we saw in the Bucs-Panthers Thursday night football game this past year. He's that being said, he took almost the entire season off last year because of that shoulder. So what makes me think is maybe he'll rehab and actually get back to the MVP season, or his shoulder will just be completely shot. From the Patriots' perspective, you really have nothing to lose here. Either you weren't going to be good either way, but now you have Cam Newton, and he might be great, and he might propel you guys to success. Right now, the favorite in that division is probably it was before it was the Bills at number 1, and now it's probably Bills and Patriots tied at number 1 for their favorites. So if Cam Newton does that for you for only, I think it was $1 million for just 1 year, and he's hungry, he's mad, he wants to prove himself. I don't see why the Patriots wouldn't sign him. I don't disagree with it at all. I don't know if he'll end up being the starter, I would imagine he will at least at some point start a game this season. Maybe Jarrett Stidham starts the first game just simply because, just because Cam Newton doesn't have enough time because there's not going to be any OTAs or training camps probably. And preseason will be shortened. So, it'll be nice to see him come back. And as a Bills fan, I selfishly want him to be horrible. I will say that. I've actually always liked Cam Newton, but right now as a Bills fan, I have to root against him. And so I hope, he's gonna throw 6 picks in a game next first game, and they're gonna bench him.
Ian,
So sounds good to me.
Ian, you got to keep dreaming. If Cam Newton wasn't even in New England, I'm sure the Bills would find a way to not get first in that division. I'm sure the Patriots would find a way to get first in that division. I just wanted to say that real quick before I go on. Okay? Now, I do agree with you on the point that the acquisition of Cam Newton is a high-risk, high-reward acquisition. It is, because we don't know about Cam Newton, the injuries. We haven't seen him play in such a long, period of time. Now, Cam Newton and Bill Belichick, that's going to be box office. That's going to be a really cool marriage because I feel like both these, this player and the coach, Cam Newton and Bill Belichick, they both have something to prove. For Bill Belichick, Tom Brady just left to go to Tampa Bay. Tom Brady said, Bill Belichick, I don't need you. I can win a Super Bowl without you. So Bill Belichick has a lot to prove in that area. And then you look at Cam Newton, who got cut from the Carolina Panthers and got left. They cut him on very, sort of controversial the way they cut him, the way they did it. It wasn't the best way, you could say. Now, those two have something to prove. And I feel like if you look at Cam Newton, it's a little weird because the fit really seems weird at first. It's like it feels like oil and water. But I said this on the last show, Ian. If you're Bill Belichick, this is a saying, Ian, in business and in life, if you're not growing, you're dying. Now, let me elaborate on that. Bill Belichick, the past 10 years, past 15 years, he's had the luxury of having Tom Brady as the QB. It's so easy. There's no challenge. Tom Brady won, and Bill Belichick, he could retire today and be fine. Or he could have not even signed Cam Newton, and, there's no challenge. He's fine. But what did he do? He wants to grow. He wants to take on another challenge. And I give total props to Bill Belichick for doing that, signing Cam Newton, because it's a very risky signing. There's so much that can go wrong with the Cam Newton signing. Oh, yeah, there is. You say no?
Risk to it. There's no risk to it whatsoever. It's
How?
It's the cheapest deal for a quarterback. Well, it would be the cheapest deal for a starting quarterback if he starts this year. And if it doesn't work out, you still have Stidham, and no one's expecting the Patriots to go to the Super Bowl.
With Cam Newton, yes, the expectations are now risen. Cam Newton's a former MVP, and he made it to the Super Bowl. There is definitely expectation now. He's falling behind Tom Brady. Jarrett Stidham, if Jarrett Stidham played, Ian, there would be no expectations of them being such an amazing team. Jarrett Stidham is a young player. Cam Newton has a lot to prove.
Cam Newton has a lot to prove, but
and Bill Belichick.
Belichick has something to prove, but it has nothing to do with Cam Newton. It's if the Patriots go deep into the playoffs or whatever, even if they make the playoffs, yeah, people will applaud both Belichick and Cam Newton. But if they don't, no one's gonna be like, oh, Belichick's a bad coach. Like it's not
I disagree with that.
I think Cam Newton, we don't know if Cam Newton's good or not. Like, nobody knows if he's good or not. So if he doesn't work out, it's like, okay, it didn't work out. It is what it is. Like, I don't think people are going to, freak out about it. I don't think it's I don't think it's that risky of a signing.
What I'm going to say is this, Ian. It would have been very easy for Bill Belichick to not have signed Cam Newton and to kept Stidham. And the excuse is Jarrett Stidham is a young player. He's up and coming. And there's time to grow. There's no pressure now. The priority of the win is not necessarily now with Jarrett Stidham at the helm of the QB. But once you brought on Cam Newton, you are winning now. You are going all in. You want to win this season. Now, I'll give it to you. It's a 1 year deal, right? And it's very low money. It might be the minimum even. So in that regard, monetary wise, fine, not as much pressure. But in terms of the spotlight, we're going to be talking a lot more about New England now, and people are saying that they are a contender now. They're a major contender with Cam Newton and Bill Belichick. So I definitely think that there's pressure on both sides, Bill Belichick and Cam Newton, that QB and coach, to make it work.
I mean, yeah, there's definitely pressure. There's definitely pressure for both players. If Cam Newton can't succeed this year, he'll probably be out of the league. And Bill Belichick, people will probably assume that, Brady, it was a lot of Brady's success. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. But, I'm not I think it's a good signing, but I wouldn't say it's like the end of the world for either side.
We'll see. I don't know if I agree with you, but we'll see. All I know is Cam Newton has so much to prove. I feel like he has a chip on his shoulder, and he has something to prove. He's a man on a mission, and I do believe that Cam Newton and Bill Belichick are going to be box office next season. And we'll see how they do against the Buffalo Bills. I mean, you think the Bills are going to win, but maybe you're just being, a little delusional once again with the Bills, just as I am with the Knicks.
I think a lot of people agree that they're the favorite. I think a lot of people agree that they're the favorite, and that's okay. All right, so our next topic, if anyone had seen, Bleacher Report put out a top 100 players of the 2019-2020 regular season. Donovan Mitchell was about 30, which we probably both agree that was probably low. But the biggest one we saw was Russell Westbrook being number 22, right behind Bradley Beal, Kyle Lowry, Kyrie Irving. Sam, I know you're chomping at the bits to talk about this one, so I'll let you go ahead.
Oh, man. I mean, look, I'll be fair. I'll try and humanize the people who made that ranking in the first place. Those rankings of those top 100 players in the NBA, it wasn't an overall ranking. It was only specifically the 2019 to 2020 regular season. So I'll try and humanize them to that extent. However, Russell Westbrook, 22nd in the NBA? That's behind Joel Embiid. That's behind Karl Anthony Towns. That's behind Ben Simmons. That's behind Bradley Beal. That's behind Kyrie Irving. And the worst part, Ian, if you actually looked at the report, if you actually looked at the reasoning, which I'm sure the majority of people, they saw, Russell Westbrook 22nd, and they left. They were like, this is BS. This has no credibility. But if you actually looked at the reasoning, they had the gut. They had the balls to write. It would not be a stretch to say that Russell Westbrook is the best this season. This has been the best season for Russell Westbrook. This has been the best version of Russell Westbrook. So they had the audacity to say this could be considered to be the best season Russell Westbrook's ever had. But he's 22nd. So I just think it's complete BS, the rankings. How do you say it to someone who's averaged 31 points, 5.5 assists, shooting on 57.5%, a true shooting percentage, post Clint Capella, training Clint Capella. Russell Westbrook, his downhill attacks to the rim are terrifying. He's so explosive. He's flying to the rim 1,000 miles per hour on basically every single possession in the NBA. And their argument was this. Their argument was this, Ian. A, Russell Westbrook is not good with Clint Capella on the floor. And B, that's been the majority of the season. It's a BS argument because they're ignoring Russell Westbrook and what he does for the Houston Rockets, the explosiveness he brings, the culture that he creates wherever he goes. We saw it in Oklahoma City when he was in Oklahoma City. They play with grit, grind, and tough. That's what Russell Westbrook brings to any team. Averaged 27.5 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists. Those were his regular season stats. And, I know he gets hate because the Rockets were the 6th seed in the West. However, they're only one game out of being the 4th seed behind the Nuggets. So I don't think that you really have to take the standing that much into consideration when you do that. They were 40-24, and I believe that Russell Westbrook was grossly underrated on that Bleacher Report rankings. Those people have to be fired ASAP.
All right. So first up, you're saying Joel Embiid. You listed players that shouldn't be in front of Russell Westbrook, and you said Joel Embiid. I know, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying you said Joel Embiid, and that concerns me. I think a lot of people agree with that. It's kind of concerning, but it is what it is. I'm not going to go into that. It's not going to dig into that rabbit hole. You know what the most concerning one for me was? So Russell Westbrook rating at 22. Gets Pascal at 17. That's fine. Pascal at 16. Okay. Ben Simmons at 15. I'm okay with, right? Karl Anthony Towns at 14.
Ben Simmons, you're okay with?
Yeah, Ben Simmons, I'm okay.
Oh.
Listen. Sam, it gets worse. I promise you.
Goodbye.
I promise you it gets worse. Listen.
I'm out.
All right, Joel Embiid at 12, I like that. Okay, bye, Sam. All right, so for those still watching, Jason Tatum at 11, I think is fine. But 10, you get down to 10, we got Chris Middleton at 10. 12 spots higher than Russell Westbrook. I like Chris Middleton. I think he's a good real player. Sam is back, I think, but it's lagging. I hope you can hear me. Okay, my point is, so Chris Middleton at 10, I think, is an abomination almost. But keep going down, I think for the most part, like, the ranking isn't awful. I don't love Russell Westbrook at 22, but here's my problem with it. More than anything, here's my problem with it is You can't make a list like this and not get something wrong. You know, like Sam knows this because he just said Ben Simmons at 15 was too high.
Over Russell Westbrook.
Yes, over
The
Russell Westbrook.
76ers have grossly underachieved this season. They're like a 6th seed in the East, and not unlike the Houston Rockets, they're not one game away from the 4th seed. They're many games out of a top-seeded team. They had expectations to be a top-tier team of going out of the East. Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, they have both underachieved, and Ben Simmons also has no jump shot at all. I know Russell Westbrook shoots 25% or under, but to put Ben Simmons above Russell Westbrook, and you're okay with that?
You done? Can I ask you a question real quick?
God.
What's worse? What's worse to you? What's worse to you? Ben Simmons at 15 or Chris Middleton at 10?
Hey.
I like Chris Middleton, but him at 10, he's not the 10th best player in the league.
I didn't say anything about Chris Middleton. Actually, the Milwaukee Bucks have the number 1 best record in the East. In terms of specifically, I'm not talking about superstars themselves. In terms of that one regular season, the 2019-2020 regular season, it's not completely out of the realm of imagination, to know why they placed Chris Middleton so high, whether you liked it or not. It just shows how underrated of a player Chris Middleton is. But my problem is Ben Simmons, not Chris Middleton. Yeah.
Chris Middleton. I think I don't have a problem with him being high in the list because he's the highest true shooting. I believe it's at the highest true shooting. He's tied with Damian Lillard for the highest true shooting percentage. Again, I think he is good. I think he's a good shooter. But Ben Simmons is like
not above Russell Westbrook in not in the regular season. In this regular season, Ian. I don't know. Viewers, ready? I want you to answer this question, Ian. What do Ian Mills and the writers of Bleacher Report have in common?
I don't know. I don't know what this guy's name is. I don't know. What's the problem? What's the problem, Sam?
I'm not even gonna answer it. I'm gonna leave it unanswered. I'm not giving anyone the satisfaction. You guys. I'm sure you guys all have the answer in your head. No reason to say it.
Well, I think people will agree with me that Ben Simmons isn't like, I think that's a fine position for him. Kyrie Irving at 19 is a little high for me.
Okay, I got you on that one. Yes.
Kyle Lowry at 20 for me is 20. Bradley Beal at 21. I don't mind it. I don't mind Bradley Beal at 21 ahead of Russell Westbrook.
They're not even in the playoffs, Ian. They're not even in the playoffs. Ninth seed. They're like 7 games out.
Still have a chance. He's not going to play with this.
Russell Westbrook? Westbrook has better stats. His team is better.
Oh, James Harden, my guy. James Harden. I don't want to worry about. But something I want to go back to.
What about James Harden?
Without James Harden, that team would not be in the playoffs. Okay, I'll stop. But
your eyes rise pretty high.
Different argument, real quick. Something I think we both probably have a problem with. So Rudy Gobert, I believe, is at 17, which I don't hate whatever it is. Guess who's number 32?
Who?
Donovan Mitchell is 32, and Rudy Gobert is 17. That is crazy. I mean, it's crazy.
Who would you rather have, Rudy Gobert or Donovan Mitchell?
Donovan Mitchell 99 times out of 100.
Yeah, me too. I agree too. I think Rudy Gobert can be underrated at times, but I think 17 or 15, he's not. Rudy Gobert is like, for his role, for what he does as a center, being a rim protector and being the Eiffel Tower that he is, amazing. World class at what he does, top tier. But is he a go-to superstar that deserves to be ranked within the top 15 in the NBA? No.
No, I agree with that. I also think players don't like him. I think players don't want to play with Rudy Gobert compared to Donovan Mitchell. But yeah, 30. So Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who I like, is above him. But whatever. Ahead of Donovan Mitchell. Jaylen Brown's ahead of him. Zion, I'm not going to even comment on that. Brandon Ingram is ahead of Zion. I don't know. This is okay. So basically, what I've learned from this entire list is sports writers, people who make sports bloggers, who make lists, who are analysts, kind of what we do, but write it down instead of talking like idiots on a
people like you, Ian.
People like you, people like Sam. No, they write things not for like the merit of it, to get reactions from it.
Reactions. Yep.
I think we have to take a step back and realize, hey, I don't care that I don't even know what the writer of this article. That's the thing. We don't even know the name of the writer of the article. I'm going to find that out real quick. But it's one of the things where it's like, okay, who really cares? Like, I don't care what this random guy, what his name is. Andy Bailey and Dan Favor.
That could be us, Ian.
Huh?
That could be us.
That could be. Why don't we just work for it? Can't be that hard. It can't be that hard to work for fucking Bleacher Report. We can.
Your Ballaholics viewers, you want me and Ian to write articles for Bleacher Report?
That'd be easy.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, Ian, I think that I might have a hard time, but I think like you would fit right in. Ranking Ben Simmons right above Russell Westbrook, you would be splendid for the job. You'd be a hire right away.
You think I'm a yeah? You know what Bleacher Report is compared to like ESPN, and I think Barstool Sports can be grouped in with Bleacher Report, but I think Barstool does a better job at it. Even ESPN is starting with sports media is not about analyzing anything. It's about entertaining people like us. It's about just saying out like no one has ever woken up in the morning and been like, oh, I wonder, I'm gonna watch First Take with Stephen A. Smith, and Stephen A. Smith says, oh, Kawhi Leonard's the best player in the NBA, and no one was like, okay, now I know who the best player in the NBA is. Like, no one's getting up watching Stephen A. Smith and being like, that's facts. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, Max Kellerman's my favorite. He says Kawhi's better now, and he says, oh, Kawhi's not as good now. LeBron's good now. LeBron's not good then. Flip-floppers, Ian. Flip-floppers. Can't stand flip-floppers.
I probably have flip-flopped a million times on this podcast, but I'm just saying, I agree with you.
We do it sometimes. I do it sometimes. Not often, of course, but I do it.
I don't know. I just think, I think the most important thing about this list is taking it with a huge grain of salt, realizing this is just two random guys who just want to, like, they want reactions. And this is it's list season. Right now we have no sports. They're just going to make list season. Hopefully it comes to an end very soon and we get baseball and basketball back as soon as possible. Even hockey, I wouldn't even mind.
Yeah, any kind of sport right now would be just amazing for us to watch, honestly. Where would you rank Russell Westbrook, you'd say, in the regular season if you had to, pencil in a number for him?
So I'm going to go – let me see if there's anyone who is ranked below him who I think might be better. Okay, so he's ranked 22 now. I would say he's ahead of Kyle Lowry. He's ahead of Kyrie. He's ahead of Rudy Gobert. That's 3. I'm going to keep Pascal in front of him. Paul George, I'm going to keep in front of him. Ben Simmons, I'm going to keep in front of him. Karl Anthony Towns, I think I'm going to keep ahead of him. CP3, I think I'm going to keep ahead of him. Joel Embiid, I'm definitely going to keep ahead. You know what? 22 is not that bad. Now that I look at it, he might only be like the 18th best player of the season. Like 22 is low, but like I don't think it's as outlandish as we're making it. Where would you rank him?
So you can name 21 players in the regular season that are better than Russell Westbrook.
I could name about 17. Do you want me to rank 17 players right now? The top 18 players.
Okay. No, 17 is not 22. 17 is not 22. So 17, you rank him 17, that's okay. But 22, man, you cannot do 22.
I'd probably put him at 18.
Okay, I don't love it, but it's not terrible. I would rank him top 15.
No.
Top 15. Yep.
Okay, go through the list and tell me what players.
Do you have it in front of you?
Yeah.
I have some right now. Ready, Ian? Ready? Joel Embiid. I wrote some down here. Joel Embiid, Karl Anthony Towns, Ben Simmons, Bradley Beal, Kyle Lowry, Kyrie Irving. Is that 7 right there?
That puts him at 16.
Okay. Keep naming players.
Did you say Chris Paul?
No.
Did you say Chris Middleton?
Keep going. I'll think about that one.
You mean Butler? Jason Tatum? You say Karl Anthony Towns. You said Ben Simmons.
Okay.
You say Paul George, did you? No, you didn't. Did you say Pascal?
Pascal, yeah. Westbrook 16's fine. 16's fine for us, Westbrook. Not great, but keep him. I'm not like unreasonable. I'm not saying Russell Westbrook. When playoffs come, Russell Westbrook wouldn't be top 16 for me. He'd be higher up. He'd be like top 10. But for the regular season, for this specific regular season, Russell Westbrook at number 16 is not terrible.
So, yeah, I mean, I'd put him at probably 18. It gets to a point where it's like, oh, well, I like this guy more than him. You know what I mean? Look, we just
not 22. Not 22.
Talked about how Rudy Gobert. It's like, oh, maybe Rudy Gobert was insane this season. We just don't like him. You know what I mean?
I think at the end of the day, I think I would ultimately. I think if I'm a Milwaukee Bucks, I would not trade Chris Middleton for Russell Westbrook. But if I'm a regular team, I take Russell Westbrook over Chris Middleton. That's 15 right there.
Do you remember a couple years ago when ESPN ranked Kobe as the 83rd best player in the league in like 20, I think it was like 2012?
No, it was
See,
like
this
20.
list makes no
It was
sense.
2015. It was 2014. It was late. I remember that. Bad ranking.
Outlandish. You know what?
Bad
You know what
ranking.
upsets me? Mitchell
What?
Robinson being. How dare they? You know.
Yeah, he should be way higher than that. Barrett,
He should be higher than-
Mitchell, Mitch, Ntilikina, Knox, all should be higher up. What do you think? You there?
If Ntilikina made it, would you say?
It looks like we're breaking up a little bit. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Let's fix this up a little, move this around a little bit. We're good now. We're good. You're there. What were you saying? No, it's not great. Bad connection.
Okay. All right. And then you can bad connection. You can't hear me.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you a little bit.
Okay. So
I'll
ask
just
you this. I can
What?
talk.
Yeah, what do you call? I'm just gonna say this. I'm gonna say, Ian, real quick. We can always get rid of this like part of the like I can edit it, so we'll get rid of this like part where it's like all laggy and shit.
I'll just ask you one more question, and then we can end the podcast, whatever. To you, if you had to build your team around one player, okay, ready? Frank Ntilikina or Kevin Knox?
I would say no. I like Ntilikina, but I like his defensive grit. Those two players, I don't think either of them are building blocks, honestly, as a core player. But I know for sure, Ian, that I would take Russell Westbrook over Ben Simmons if I did a rebuild.
A rebuild?
Oh wait, a rebuild. Wait, a rebuild. My bad. Let me retract my statement. I'll take Russell Westbrook over. I'll take Russell Westbrook over Ben Simmons for the season.
For one season?
Yes.
I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. That's fine. I don't think it's a bad take. It's a bad take, but I just wouldn't.
Who would you take in a rebuild? Let's see.
Yeah,
Willie Cauley-Stein?
Okay, he's not in the Kings. He's not in the Kings anymore. But
that's right. I don't even know any Kings players besides De'Aaron Fox is good. Okay, you got me. You got me there. Okay.
Rashawn Holmes, or Bianca. It's not even how you pronounce his name. But I would take. Who would I say? Oh, Rashawn Holmes. I'd probably take Rashawn Holmes. He's actually really good.
Yeah, he's good. All right. Let's end this right now. Let's end this. You guys, had to sit down, sit through our, our gibberish, our arguments with Russell Westbrook or Ben Simmons. I don't know how it turned into that, but it did. It's too bad. Russell Westbrook. Either way, me and Ian both agree that Russell Westbrook should be ranked higher. Not top 5, perhaps, not top 10, but he should be ranked higher. Appreciate you guys joining us for this episode, and have a good one.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.